everyone. We have awesome Aysha Khan with us today. Aysha, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here today.
Thank you, Aysha. So, Aysha, where are you located today?
I am in Los Altos, California.
Cool. Is it work office or work from home or office?
Today I'm working from home.
All right, me too. I'm actually based in Minneapolis, so it's good to connect with you. And the weather here is just pretty bad, so I can't complain. Um, but I hear that like my son, he has been wanting to go to California for spring break, and he's like, I don't know, I don't want to go to North California. I want to go to Southern California, San Diego. So for spring break, we may be coming near there. We'll see. So
That's amazing. If you're in town, let me know. We'll meet up.
awesome. Well, so what this podcast is around is we just want to learn a little bit about how do you do tech? And I believe you work at Treasure Data and you are the CISO over there and leading the entire security best practices within Treasure Data. Um, I just want to maybe you can paint a picture and kind of go back to your career. How did you get to this role and why are you doing it and what do you want to get out of it?
A loaded question. Actually, there are three questions, so I'll try to justice to it. Okay, so first of all, a little bit about me. I'm Aysha Khan, both CIO and CISO for Treasure Data. And Treasure Data is a startup in Silicon Valley. And I hold the dual responsibility of overseeing the information technology and security aspects of the company. So before Treasure Data, I managed in like many different security and technology domains in companies like HP, Bank of Montreal, CIBC Mellon, Symantec, and Oracle, both in America and Canada. Why Canada? I actually came from Canada to the Montreal
Oh,
area.
really? You're
Yes.
Canadian.
So I grew up in Toronto. And your next question was, why am I in tech and how did I get here? So I'll give you a philosophical answer to that. Why am I in tech? I have a big desire to make a big impact on this planet. And I feel I have asked, well, we'll talk about philosophy in a bit, but I've thought about it a couple of times and I feel I'm very much at the intersection of technology and humanity. So for
I
me,
love that.
it's,
That's
yeah,
pretty loaded though. I'm curious about that.
yeah, we'll discuss that. What does that mean for me is I want to bring the best out of every single being on this planet, as many people as I can reach out. And I have a very analytical mind. So for me, as using technology to solve complex problems and helping people reach their potential. So once they reach their potential and we use technology, let's make this
I love
world a
that.
place that it needs to be. So that's that. So I think the theme of my life, why in tech, is the impact that I want to leave on the society, the industries that I want to influence, and passion for innovation. And now your third question, how did I get here? The easy answer is destiny. I believe in destiny.
I love that.
Um, so my last two, three gigs, they have been very organic. People have been reaching out and saying, hey, they saw the potential in me before I knew that I had that potential. So I'm very grateful and thankful to those people for seeing it, calling it out, making me aware of it. So ran organically happened for this role as well. Um, my ex boss reached out saying, "Hey, we are looking for somebody who has the experience in architecture, compliance, risk, application security." And I've had touched many different domains there. So they were looking for somebody who can do ground up security, build the organization, and do justice to the company. So that was what presented to me back then, and it was very fascinating to me. I said, sure. So I joined Treasure Data back in 2019, and 2 years later, first started with security, so became a CISO first, and then my current boss came and said, "Why don't you take over IT as well? There is a lot of synergy." So now
Yeah,
I am
that's true.
holding dual roles, but honestly speaking, I really feel this is one of the areas we will talk about, where companies are not solving problems. I feel IT is often a bottleneck for security. Now that I manage the two departments, I see how much um, synergies there in terms of fast decision making, simplify our tech stack and apply security on top,
Yeah.
have full access into our SaaS portfolio management. So yeah, I'm enjoying the ride and looking forward to making the difference.
Cool. And you always had, like, do you have background in computers or IT or tech, or
Okay.
this is just like me, I grew up with like nothing from computer tech perspective. And the first time when I saw a computer was when I started doing my BS in computer science. And I was like, holy cow, this is cool. So I'm just curious what your journey was.
Yeah. The funny thing is, growing up, I enjoyed math a lot. So that's my favorite subject. But I think so. I was born in Pakistan, grew up there. That in my teenage years, I moved to Canada. So I was good in both biology and mathematics. And I remember one day we had to make a decision like, where do you go? Pre engineering, pre medical. So my dad and I were having a conversation, and he's like, seems like you are doing well in both. Where would you like to go? And I distinctly remember my answer to him was, you know what? I think I will go toward maths. And he's like, why? And my answer to him was, I want to travel around the world. I
That's
want
a
to
good
solve,
reason.
yeah, I want to travel around the world. I want to solve complex problems, and I want to meet a lot of people, learn from them. And if I go the medical route, I feel like I will end up in a hospital, and all day long I'm just sitting there
That's so
treating
true. You
patients.
had the vision. It's so true. It's so true. Because it's the same story for me. My brother is a doctor and I'm into tech. And like, I don't think he's stuck in the hospital, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So I think mathematics has always been my favorite subject. I like the whole curiosity aspect of it. Every time you can see things from a different angle, and I enjoy that. So I did my computer science. So I did my major in computer science and networking. And back then, this is I'm talking about 2002, 2004 timeline, where security was just brand new. So you
True.
were
Yeah.
presented options for electives, and security was my okay. So my major was computer and communication networking, and then electives that I picked happened to be business and security. And 20
Wow.
years later, I feel like I couldn't have picked better subjects. So
Yeah.
this
So
is my
true.
journey.
And it's interesting you say that. I started my programming career in 1994, and I don't think security was even talked about. It was always an afterthought where, oh, go write code or set up infrastructure. And because the hacking term wasn't even common back then, right? Cyber
Yes.
threats were not common. Now, a lot of threats are happening because there is a lot of kids who are getting into the bandwagon and learning quickly, ramping up, and they're misusing their talent, which is sad.
Yeah.
So that's pretty impressive. So just coming back to where you are today, how I love that within CISO and CIO, you're bridging the gap between IT, help desk, security, but there is this other dimension of software developers.
Mm.
How do you bridge gap? Because I believe in your organization, you have a separate organization, which is a CTO led, which does software development. So how do you align that? Because while there is a lot of cyber threats because of poor infrastructure, but there is also a lot of attacks, especially denial of service or, SQL injection. So what kind or whatever, I mean, I'm not an expert in that space, but how do you bridge that gap? How do you educate your other teams?
Yeah, I would actually like to start with giving you a little bit of context of the skill that I'm dealing with. So, with treasure data, imagine in the world we have about 7.88 billion human beings, right? Um, and in treasure data systems, we have about 3 billion people information.
Wow.
So just imagine that for a second. And my CEO doesn't forget to remind me once in a while, hey, you have, as a data custodian, responsibility of 3 billion people. So this is the skill that we are talking about. So with that, what I have done is when I took over the CISO role, we have a very organized structure within treasure data. So basically what happens is, from a CISO point of view, I have three mandates. The first is assure our customers. So I have a pillar called trust and assurance. They are responsible for all of audit, compliance, risk management, policies, procedure, training. Then I have the second pillar, which is called security architecture. So with my first pillar, which is trust and assurance, we are fully aligned with our GTM strategy, which is go to market. So I use my trust and assurance pillar to assure our customers, align with our GTM to enable them to open them into new regions and segments. So for example, if we are going after financial customers or healthcare customers or retail customers, I already know ahead of time which compliance I need to open up.
Yeah.
So that's the alignment there. The second one is security architecture. So with security architecture, we are fully aligned on the R&D side, research and development, which is led by our CPTO and CTO. So CPTO is our Chief Product Technical Officer and CTO is the Chief Technical Officer. So the alignment there is how do we ensure we are providing training to our developers from a secure coding point of view? How do we make sure from a security point of view we have a well-defined process all the way from designing a feature, testing the feature, to checking for quality of code. So we
Yep.
have source code scanning, dynamic scanning, infrastructure scanning. And not only that, then we also look into what is going into production, how are we maintaining what's in production. So what is the health of our application and features that we are releasing on daily
Okay.
basis. So that's where the alignment is. So that's where I align with my CPTO and CTO on a quarterly basis saying, show me your roadmap. Show me
Hmm.
what's coming. What do we need to be ready on the security side? How are we going to do testing? Are we doing major testing? And when I say major testing, meaning obviously we are doing, let's say, 60 releases a day. Are we going to do threat modeling on all 60 releases? Or we are going to come up with a criteria saying, let's do major architectural changes, major infrastructure changes, and then for all the other releases, we do, let's say, on a quarterly basis. So we have cadence defined. Then with the R&D organization, we have a vulnerability management program as well.
I love
So
that. Tell me more about it. That sounds like the stop where everything stops.
yeah, so one of the initiatives we have started internally, for example, we have source code scanning, we have dynamic scanning, infrastructure scanning. So a lot of vulnerabilities are coming out. So I want to talk about two, three things here. One, I'm very much in favor of moving to left, that shift left model, meaning our all three of us, our CPTO, CTO, and myself, we are aligned that we do not want to be in a situation where everything is an afterthought.
Yeah.
We
I
want to
love
put
that.
security and privacy to the forefront of everything that we are doing. So we have built a culture of security within Treasure Data where although I am the driver for security, but everyone is accountable for making sure they are doing the right thing when it comes to security and privacy. So we have clear processes, best practices, checklists defined that we have handed over to all the business units. And I'm not only talking about R&D, finance, accounting, marketing, EX, because the reality is today we are in a very decentralized model. So for
Yeah.
example, I have tools from an IT security point of view that I provide to R&D, to all the other departments for productivity, for efficiency. But all these departments have their own tooling as well, right?
Yes.
So how do I ensure the vulnerabilities, the patching gaps sitting in their ecosystem, we have visibility into that as well. So the way we are addressing is build that culture of security where everyone understands what is expected of them. The second thing we have done is define the SDLC process anywhere where development work is happening. Because development work is not only happening in R&D, it's also happening in professional services.
Right.
It's
Oh, you
also
have a big professional services
we
team
do.
too?
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's also happening there. Then it's customer support as well. So we have that well-defined process where anyone, and I call it our internal development shops, anywhere there's a development shop, they have to follow a process. Then we have integrated tools from security point of view where they are responsible for running scans, but we do get visibility into where the vulnerabilities are. And we have an incentivizing program where, for example, the department producing the most number of vulnerabilities is, I don't believe in a stick. I'm very much of a carrot mindset. We give visibility to the leaders saying, look, your department is creating the most number of vulnerabilities. What is it? Let's learn together. Is it we are bringing new junior developers who don't know how to secure better? Do we need more training for them? Are they just rushing to release? What is happening? So we are understanding that as well. And the organizations which are over time reducing number of vulnerabilities, then we have spot bonuses for them. So
Wow, this
we
is
are,
new. You have an internal bounty program.
yeah, yeah,
That's
we
pretty
are,
amazing.
yeah. And look, I'll tell you, it's not easy. It took us some quarters to get to it.
Yeah.
But one of the things that helped was train the trainer model. So we have looked into security champion program. So
Okay.
we have champions in all these organizations. So when we get visibility, we work with these champions and we expect these champions to take the message to their developers, to other managers. And that's how there's a back and forth between security and those organizations. So going back to, we have a culture of security, we have well-defined processes, we have single pane of glass from vulnerability management point of view. So from a vulnerability management point of view, we have clear SLAs defined. So for example, if we find critical high vulnerabilities in our ecosystem, there is a window that we expect all these developers to address those things. And if they are not addressing, then the expectation is either they file an exception or they give us a timeline. And the third thing we have done is we have a risk management program. So basically, what's happening is, again, I'm the driver, but we highlight risk in our organization wherever those risks are. So one thing I'll tell you, for example, there is a joke. I want to tell you about this joke. I was talking to my peers in the security industry, and they were like, CISOs have now two options: either they are jobless or they are in jail.
Oh my God. This should go on podcast. I'm going to call this podcast Shift Left and then say Shift Left, go to jail or you are out of job. This is amazing. This is amazing. I love it.
So I'll tell you what one of the programs that I'm extremely proud of. So if I have to say the highlight of my career in treasure data is coming up with that risk management program, and I'll tell you why. Um, I don't know, it's common sense to me, but a lot of the time when people say, oh my God, look at that CISO is going to a jail, or they were trying to hide information, or whatever the case was, right?
Yeah.
Often I think the problem is they are making unilateral decisions. So let me explain from my point of view. I tell my boss, so I report into our CFO slash COO. So on my first day, I told him, look, good, bad, or ugly, I'm going to come and tell you how it is. I'm not going to color code it. The second thing I'm going to do is my job in the organization, whether you see it from a CISO point of view or from a CIO point of view. From a CIO point of view, mostly I say my job is to make people productive. From a CISO point of view, my job is number one, highlight risks in the organization.
Yeah.
And what I've done is I've formed a committee, and that committee has our chief legal officer, our chief technology officer, because technology officer is the one reporting into our chief technical, what is it, CPTO, chief product technology officer. So that guy is optional, but we have, again, chief legal officer, chief technology officer, myself, and then depending on where the risk we identify, then we bring in our CHRO, for example, CMO, CFOs. So we have a tier defined.
The
So
C
what
level.
happens? Yeah, so we have like 6, 7 C levels sitting there, and we highlight risk in the organization. So for example, there are 5 risks in the R&D, there are 3 risks in the GTM, there is 2 risks in this organization, whatever that organization is.
I love
And
it.
then we hold those business owners accountable. So for example, if we have 5 risks in our R&D, we go to our CTO and we say, we've identified 5 risks in your organization. There are only 4 options: accept, mitigate, transfer, or avoid. Transfer pretty much is, buy more insurance. Avoid, you're not going to do anything about it. Mitigate, let's address it. Accept that we know there is a risk and we are accepting it. And we do not accept any risk for more than a year because we
I
review all risk on a yearly basis,
this is
depending on the
amazing.
threat landscape. Yeah. So
I
then what
think
happens?
you
Yeah.
should you should write a book about this. This is like, I mean, the thing is, like I talk to a lot of CISOs and CIOs, and they have sleepless nights because of security, issues or challenges, and a lot of it is because there's a saying that says, the only time you will have tears in your eyes because you didn't plan early on.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where it sounds like you have planned so much that
Yeah.
you're not leaving anything up to
Yeah.
guesswork, or rather, oh, we expect this developer to do this, or we expect this IT to patch, a firewall or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. There is a beautiful saying that I saw, and actually I have this on my desk, which is your lack of planning is not my emergency.
Yes, I love that.
So, coming back to that point, what happens is through that committee, when I hold everyone accountable, they don't have an option to get away with it. So they come back to me saying, yes, they're going to do something about it. And if, let's say, we have a risk tolerance defined as well, like as a company, what is our risk tolerance? If
Hmm.
anything, for example, a CTO is saying, I am willing to accept it, he doesn't have the authority to make that decision because there is chief legal officer and myself. So CTO
Yes.
is only thinking about R&D, for
So
example, here.
that framework is so important, because
Yes.
otherwise, if it is just one person saying, because it's interesting you say that you report to CFO, and then you have all these other C-level people that, like, they have the authority that they have, but at the same time the framework is built in a way that you can't just have one person make the decision and then you
Absolutely.
have issues later on. Then
Yeah,
it's like, well, no, this wasn't one person decision, we jointly made that decision. And
exactly.
so it's really interesting that how you put it out there.
Yeah.
What I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on, especially when it comes to public clouds, like, you look at Microsoft Cloud or AWS Cloud or Google Cloud or Oracle Cloud. w- where do you see the CISO part? Because you hear a lot of private clouds or, on-prem type of stuff getting hacked. You hear less of public cloud. So is there a strategy where more and more companies should migrate to public cloud because they are secure?
Look, I personally believe, even as a CISO, there's no 100% security. There's,
Right. Yeah.
that's an illusion that you will think there's going to be, everything is going to be fixed. Um, that's not the reality. It comes down to companies' risk tolerance. So, for example, we are also in public cloud. Um, what we have done is, from our point of view, understand who we are as a business in the context that we operate in. What is our threat landscape? And based on that threat landscape, come up with controls which are important to our ecosystem, which are important for us to provide guardrails to our customers. So, from that point of view, we are in AWS. We have clear controls highlighted. What is it that we need to be protecting? But from a customer point of view, we do give an option to our customers, and I'll tell you that's very much based on their personas. So in our case, we have mostly enterprise customers, and I'm not going to share names here,
Of
but
course.
enterprise customers, I'll tell you, depending on their risk profile, we have customers who prefer single tenancy, and then there are customers who are okay with multi-tenancy. So we have that option available, but what we have done as a CISO and working with our R&D, we have advanced, I mean, the way I describe is we have the standard model, which has fully loaded security controls. But then for customers who are more risk averse, we have the option of giving them the bring your own key solution. So you are still
Okay.
multi-tenant, but you can bring your own key.
I love
And
that.
then the last option is single tenancy. So we have customers, wave of customers are now coming saying, you know what, because we are new to cloud, we have been hacked before, we are slowly migrating and moving into this new world. We see the value, but we are not fully comfortable yet. What are our options? And the option is let's go single tenancy route.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. What if you look at, there's so much tech happening right now. Other day I came across something that was just kind of insane. I don't want to say it here, but I'm just curious, what tech you wish was here today that is not there?
What tech? I'll tell you, I don't know if I will do justice to this question or not, but I'll tell you my pain point. Um, I have my own tech stack. So there is a tech stack that I have to provide to the company. But as a CISO, CIO, I have my own tech stack looking at, okay, how do I show ROI to the business, right? From a security point of view, I don't know what's happening, but we have way too many tools which should be features.
Mm-hmm.
So my wish is there needs to be consolidation within the security world.
Yes.
Not
True.
everything is a tool. There are a lot of amazing companies who need to just merge together, acquire each other, and come up with a tech stack that will be a CISO's, I don't know the word here, but I would love to have good, solid 6, 7 tools within the CISO and CIO tech stack. But in the priority, what I'm looking for is a matrix and a dashboard kind of thing.
Yes.
One of the problems that I'm running into, for example, I talked about risk management program. Yes, I am doing a lot of this today within the committee, and it's very much subjective.
Hmm.
I want to quantify it. So quantification from a point of view of, okay, so there's this threat landscape. If you were to accept this risk and we were getting in a situation where there might be a breach, what would be the value we would be looking at?
See, I know what you're saying. One of my all-time favorite books is Measure What Matters. And it's really interesting because a lot of times I get approached by a lot of marketing companies. Oh, you should invest this and that with us, and we will give you this ROI. And I'm like, well, can you tie that investment to an output? And like, I think we interviewed like 5 marketing companies and nothing. So, all right, cool, awesome. I love that. Last few things. Uh, Thoughts on AI ML? Where is how is that helping CISOs or security world? Do you think AI or machine learning is able to project, predict, or learn to say, look, you have a pretty wide network, do something, otherwise you're going to get hacked? I mean, I'm waiting for that day. I
Absolutely.
mean, I'm waiting for a
Absolutely.
day when AI and machine learning can read my wife's mind, but that we're probably far away from that.
I think it will happen. I'm very optimistic on this technology, very bullish. It is here to stay. We have to embrace it. There is no running away from it. Personally, I think it has many benefits. Look, there's always going to be a point where people will be going like, "Oh, this can be bad for humanity, this and that." The burden is on us how we come
Yeah.
up with ethical use cases.
Yes.
I often say, yes, I am bullish on technology, but human originality will not be replaced.
Right. Yep. No,
So,
absolutely. It's like back in the days they said, "Oh, computers will replace human." It's like, well, I have 3 computers at home. I'm still not replaced. I still like what I'm doing. So,
yes.
um, all
So
right.
I think this is here to stay. But from a CIO, CISO point of view, I think there is a lot we can do. So I see the way I'm seeing the AI wave within treasure data. From a CIO point of view, how can I use AI to make people productive and efficient? How
I
do we
love that.
use the current tech stack? And a lot of these vendors are coming up with their own AI enabled features. So kid you not, this whole quarter my priority is to look at every single tool and see what's coming next. So my strategy is crawl, walk, and run.
I love that.
So
I love that.
first wave is look at the tool, tech stack, leverage what we have. The second is understand where the market is going, what are the common use cases among many different department units, which is help desk, documentation, knowledge base, what else? And then look into creating a solution from a central point of view to provide service to the rest of the organization. But from a security point of view, we brought in Copilot. We have a clear policy, we have clear legalities defined. Like, for example, if we are creating code using Copilot, what does that mean for our ecosystem, for our
Right.
product, for our customers? So, from a CISO point of view, my goal is how do I enable R&D to get more out of these AI tools in a secure manner? From a CIO point of view, how do I leverage what I have within the tool stack to make people productive and efficient?
I'm a big fan of Copilot. I don't know how. I read about LLM and how they came up with this. Just mind blowing. All right. Rapid fire questions. Any favorite books or anything you're reading that you think others should read?
I'm reading this one right now, The Next CIO.
The next CIO. All right. Awesome.
Yeah,
Any
it's very
favorite
bolster.
apps? Any favorite apps on your phone that you can't live without?
Notion, my favorite.
Notion. Yes. My
Yeah.
daughter, she's 21. She's been telling me to use it. I am just an old timer using notes on my MacBook. Maybe I should switch. Any favorite movie?
Oh, Avatar.
Oh, I love it. The first one or second one?
The first one.
First one was
It's
original.
so relevant. Whether you look at AI, you look at any technology,
Absolutely.
any board, it's all in your head.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How they do you any streaming shows that you're watching?
Not right now, I'm not much of a TV person, but I do love spending time on Mind Valley in Masterclass.
That's a good one. Masterclass is beautiful. I learned how to sleep better using Masterclass. Amazing the research they have done. Any favorite vacation spot that you're like, I want to go back there?
Paris.
I
I
love
don't
it.
know, there's something about Europe. I feel like I just keep going back to Europe.
Or well, you grew up in Canada, so Montreal is right there. It feels like
Yes.
European, right? Doesn't it?
Yes. Yes, I grew up in Toronto, not in Montreal, but yes, you're right. Quebec City is my favorite in Canada for that reason. But I don't know, there's just something. I love culture, history, architecture, design, fashion, you name it.
Awesome. Last one. I know you are a very organized person, and you have all these committees that you've set up, and you can almost write a book on how to secure everything. Tell us one or two productivity tips that the C level, especially CIO, CISO, should use to get more out of their day.
Productivity tool. I'll tell you from my point of view, what gives me sanity is we are in Q4. I've already planned fiscal year 25. So we follow the fiscal
Wow.
year. And the way it works is it's just upfront planning makes things super simple, helps me align from a funding point of view. I mean, I tell, like, for example, whenever we have to do budgeting, I'm like, how can you do budgeting without understanding what the roadmap is?
Yes, true, true.
So the productivity tips is, don't be a micromanager, but still have a long view of what is it you need to be addressing for your organization based on pain points, aspirational goals, and company priorities. So if you have those three defined, then planning becomes fun. And when I do that, all my leaders and the skip levels, they have clear view into what is short term, what is long term, and it's just like well-oiled machine.
Wow, awesome. Aisha, awesome to have you here on the show. Thank you so much for making time. I hope you got something out of it. I am sure a lot of upcoming CISOs or CIOs who are looking at security and tech, they will look at it from a different lens.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to help anyone, any questions that you guys have, in any way I can help. Yeah,
Awesome. Yes.
thank you.